So Fox News alert now. New numbers from the feds about an hour ago show the situation getting worse with the Social Security and Medicare programs in this country. Both of them are expected to go broke sooner than originally thought. Now, the government is coming up $46 billion short on Social Security payments just this year. And that news comes on the same day as we get a new Gallup poll. Take a look at these numbers, because people are really starting to wake up and take a closer look at this issue. And 47% of voters say no. They're telling their congressmen and congresswomen, do not vote to raise the debt ceiling in the coming weeks. Only 19% are in favor of that. 34% say they're not sure. They don't know enough about the issue to answer that question. David Webb is with me today. He's the host of The David Webb Show and co-founder of Tea Party 365. And Bernard Whitman, Democratic strategist and former pollster for President Bill Clinton, joins me in the studio as well. So welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here today.
Good to see you, Martha.
You know, this is going to be the hot topic in the coming weeks. And the American people are very fired up about this issue. And they're sending a pretty strong message. Almost half are telling Congress, don't do it. Don't vote to raise the debt ceiling, Bernard.
Well, Martha, what I find more surprising than the fact that a minority oppose raising the debt ceiling is the fact that 1 in 3 Americans actually admit that they don't have enough information to decide whether or not the debt ceiling should be raised. And what this says to me is this: we need to do a better job in this country of educating ourselves about the really serious costs and trade-offs necessary to run a civil society. We've got to care for our seniors. We've got to protect our defense. We've got to care for the environment. We've got to stimulate business.
How do you expect we'll do any of that when the money runs out?
And well, we have to get serious about the real trade-offs that are necessary. And the report on Social Security and Medicare underscores the fact that getting serious about this means we've got to raise the retirement age, we've got to cut defense, and we have to roll back the Bush tax cuts for millionaires. We can't afford to do everything we need to do.
You know, my guess, because we've seen that number increase to 47, I think that the more people learn about this issue, the more they're on the side of not raising the debt ceiling. I think the numbers bear that out, David.
Right, and having looked at this polling data, this is adults. Now let's take it to registered voters, where the numbers grow even higher. It's great to say we have to take care of, but Americans self-imposed austerity. That's what we've done for 2 years, and our government won't do the same. We won't cut the entitlements, and frankly, that's a fault of both sides. We need to also restructure them. And your point about when the money runs out, when America goes bankrupt, entitlements help a certain sector of the population, but it will hurt a greater sector of the American population when we go bankrupt. We have to get our historical levels back to 18% federal spending. We've really got to do something to take care of our debt burden. And if we don't, then the fact is bankruptcy is looming.
You know, you hear Tim Geithner talk about the fact that he believes that these programs will be solvent for, at least a decade. He said, earlier today, they'll be solvent for at least a decade. A decade? I mean, the last 10 years of my life have gone pretty fast. I don't know about everybody else, but that is a very short window. You know, and I feel as if the American people get this issue much more than people who are very concerned about re-election. And if you take anything away from any of us, that they're not going to get elected to their position next time around.
And in fact, I think the American people on so many issues today are out in front of the political leadership. And it's absolutely clear we've got to get control of our debt. But the way to do that is not to not raise the debt ceiling. Why? We don't raise the debt ceiling. You talk about bankruptcy, interest rates skyrocket. Social Security recipients won't get their checks. Taxpayers won't get their tax rebates.
You know what?
Combat vets won't get paid. I mean, that is not the
what
way
do you say?
we cannot
They can make a military exception, and they've already said that they would do that.
First of all, completely wrong. You can make exceptions. You can service the existing debt. You can pay the debt service. You can do this. And there is no scenario that says that is an end-stage scenario for America. Look, our creditors, whether it's China, Japan, second largest holder of our debt around the world, will look at our austerity just like a bank looks at you personally and say, responsible fiscal sanity means that we will continue. America is the largest purchaser in the world. They're not going to turn on us. Where the dollar is the what oil's traded on. It's not going away. My gut feeling and my background in studying the markets tells me that if we refuse to raise the debt ceiling, our creditors will look upon that favorably. They'll say, finally,
The United States is actually getting serious about their financial issues. And I think just, as a corporation, any company that borrows money is under that same kind of scrutiny. When they tighten their belt, Wall Street responds very favorably.
But, here's what I support. I support a deficit cap. A deficit cap would say if the national debt as a percentage of the entire economy does not start to go down in the next few years, it would trigger automatic spending cuts, automatic tax hikes. That's what would that's what would say to the markets, we're getting serious rather than playing chicken.
If this doesn't happen in the next few years, then we'll do this. It's too late for that. People are past that point. They want to see it now. They want to see it now.
They don't want to see our government default. That is breaking a bond that we have with our creditors.
We've already broken those bonds with everybody.
Unacceptable.
We broke the bigger bond. The bigger bond is it's stupid to go into bankruptcy as a nation to try and borrow your way towards, frankly, solvency.
We borrow 40 cents on every dollar we use anyway.
The problem is this is a numbers problem, but political calculus is what we see.
Right.
We need to look at the numbers. We need to look at what we spend, what we owe. We need to look at all the areas that we can cut. $200 billion in duplicative programs.
Nothing.
We need to really do things that tell our creditors we are financially responsible. And think about this. 2016, the IMF projects that China will be a larger economy. That gives China a huge control over us on national security issues. Admiral Mullen said
that day is coming.
Debt is our biggest problem.
We gotta go, gentlemen. Thank you.
We're giving tax cuts to big business, big oil, and millionaires. We can't afford to do these things. Might be nice. We can't afford it.
We did an analysis yesterday about, Apple and Google. Those companies pay far lower taxes than the oil companies. So if they're going to do that, they better do it across the board. So we'll see. Thank you, gentlemen. I got the last word on that one.
Yes,
Good to have you here, David and Bernard. Always a pleasure. Thank you, guys.